Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about the problem with the FIRE movement for Muslims. So this is based on a video that Ramit Sethi did. And, it talks about the financial independence retire community. And Ramit explains it really well in this clip here.
Financial independence, retire early. Those words sound great, right? Well, I have some problems with the idea of FIRE. You see, who doesn't love the idea of retiring early with complete financial freedom? It sounds great. But is it too good to be true?
So this is something that I've followed for a long time. I've been reading a lot of blogs and YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I haven't seen much spoken about it from a Muslim point of view. And that's definitely something I want to kind of address on this channel and just talk about financial independence in general. And in this video, I'm going to react to this video and show you how we can apply it from a Muslim point of view. Welcome to Simple Muslim Money, which is all about simple halal investing and personal finance for Muslims.
It's an example of something called the crossover point, where your investments earn enough to fund your expenses automatically. And this idea was first described by Vicky Robin and Joe Dominguez in their book, Your Money or Your Life.
So this is the key thing here, is that having that crossover point. So it's where you have enough money invested that it's growing and growing and growing so that you can just live off the returns every year. And so, for example, if you need to earn like £40,000 or dollars a year to survive, then you have enough money invested that it kind of generates that much for you every year. Now, this can take a long time to build up, and you kind of, during your working years, you kind of build that pot up. And the next thing I want to talk about is the book, Your Money or Your Life, which Ramit kind of spoke about. And this is a fantastic book. I read it quite a few years ago, and it's very big within the financial independence, retire early movement. And it just talks about how your time is your money. Basically everything you do is costing you money. So if you put your time into something else instead of a certain other area, then you're sort of wasting money. Or if you buy something, then that's cost you a certain amount of time. So every time you buy a coffee, that could have cost you 2-3 hours of your time that you'll never get back again. So it's all about being kind of conscious about where you spend your money. But one thing I want to say is I really like the FIRE community. It's something I've looked into a lot, and I really like the concept, like this idea of financial independence and retire early and how it can possibly be done. And Ramit Sethi talks about the two different types of FIRE, and he explains it really well.
There's lean FIRE, which is people who've decided they can live on a lean amount of money, often $30,000 to $50,000 a year in perpetuity. They typically reject materialism. They embrace simplicity, often in an extreme way. They're likely doing fun things like going for walks in the park and bird watching. On the other end of the spectrum, there is fat FIRE, which is for people who want to live an extravagant life at the highest levels of spending.
Now, a really interesting thing with the financial independence retire community is it's all about your savings rate.
Most Americans stretch to save 10%. FIRE absolutely obliterates that by showing it's possible to save 25, 40, even 70% of your income if you get clear about your goals.
How much you can save.
For example, in 2018, Oprah bought a house for $8 million. Seems outrageously expensive, right? But keep this in mind. Her net worth at the time was over $4 billion. And if she just conservatively invested that money, generating 4%, her investments alone, not even counting her salary, would generate $160 million that year. Because when you set the goal of accumulating a number, it becomes very difficult to learn how to spend it. In other words, you can't be ultra frugal for years and years and then magically flip a switch and suddenly you are spending money.
The next thing is that Ramit kind of talks about the problem with FIRE, and he kind of explains a couple of the main things with it.
The FIRE movement is often obsessed with a number, and everything revolves around that. A lot of members of the FIRE movement exhibit classic signs of stress, anxiety, even depression, thinking that hitting some mythical number in their spreadsheet will suddenly make them happy.
Yeah, so this is a really good point, being obsessed with a number. Hear about people saying, if I had £1 million, or if I had this amount of money, then I'll be fine. But that's not necessarily the case. And obviously I don't have that much money, but just kind of reading everything and being obsessed with that money and having your happiness based on that sort of number or that figure doesn't actually work in reality. And like you said, can put a lot of anxiety and fear and things like that into people by obsessing over a number.
Another problem is that people working towards FIRE often spend years living in ultra frugality. I'm talking hyper frugality, so that one day in this mythical future, they can enjoy their money. But that's not how people work.
Yep, so this is a good point that Ramit talks about, where people are just kind of saving so much money that they find it very hard to kind of spend money. And yeah, I definitely remember when I was younger and I didn't have that much money, and I was just kind of just saving. I found it very hard to kind of spend money when I did really need to spend money. So, I would have like clothes for a very long time, or like my trainers and things like that. So I kind of got into this kind of really mindset where I just had to kind of save money, or I wouldn't be spending money on other people and things like that. So that's definitely something I've kind of improved massively on throughout the years, especially now that I do have a full-time job and I'm making an income and things like that. But yeah, being very frugal and ultra frugal can have its kind of drawbacks as well, because when you do have money and when it's like a good opportunity to spend money, and I remember Ramit talking about this, for example, you're on holiday in Italy and there's an ice cream there, but the ice cream costs, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 euros. And you think, oh, well, hang on, that ice cream's not worth that amount of money. But this is like a one-off experience. I mean, when are you going to be in Italy again to sample that sort of ice cream? So, in certain cases, like, it is actually potentially a really good, opportunity to have this like amazing moment potentially with your family and what have you. So by spending a bit of money could be really good. And then it's about having that balance and knowing when to spend it. And that's what can really kind of get disrupted when you are kind of really in that FIRE kind of mindset.
Please recognize you have the power to dramatically change the way you approach your working years. You can earn more. Learning how to increase your salary is a skill. You can spend less. The FIRE community has shown us it's possible. Or you can do both. You decide on your rich life.
Yep, I really love this concept as well. So and especially, he's talking about you can earn more, you can spend less, or you can do both, which is what I'm trying to do as well. But one thing I do want to say, like in terms of earning more, you don't necessarily have to kind of always leave your job and find a new job and find a job that potentially you don't like. If you do have a job that you like, the other thing that can be done, and this is setting up some sort of side hustle, some sort of business, something that to give you this extra income that you can then kind of invest as well to help build up your pot so that you can then, retire early or, spend money on things that you really want to. So yeah, and this is definitely something we can do as Muslims as well. There are investments and things out there that we can actually use, and we can build up our retirement, build up our future, and get to that point of financial independence. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please check out my other video where I talk about why Muslims are spending paycheck to paycheck.